Welcome to the Leverage Show. This is Brett Ingram, and I'm uncomfortable today. I'm uncomfortable because I want to get a new office chair. My office chair is a little bit too warm in the hot weather here in the summer. I'm uncomfortable because there's a bunch of other equipment that I want to be able to get. I'm uncomfortable because I have a lot of projects and a lot of work that I want to get done that isn't as far along as I'd like it to be. And I was thinking about all this stuff this morning, and I realized that one of the greatest things, one of the greatest gifts that you can give yourself is to be uncomfortable. And it might sound funny. Why would I want to be uncomfortable? Especially professionally. Because if you're uncomfortable, it means that you're not going to be complacent. If you're uncomfortable, it means there's always something to be driving toward. There's always something more that you want. And so you're going to work hard to be able to get it. One of the most dangerous things that can happen to you in your business is you get too comfortable. Everything is exactly the way that you want it. There's nothing that you would change about the way things are. And when you get into that state, and we've seen this throughout history with people in their personal lives, we've seen this throughout history with companies, whether they're big or small or giant corporations. People get a little bit too fat and happy, and then all of a sudden, there goes sort of that intensity. There goes that edge. There goes that spark that sort of got them to where they need to be. I think a lot about sports as a great analogy for this, because I think it's a very similar type of a situation. I have two boys that both play youth soccer, and they've sort of had roller coaster rides in terms of the teams that they've been on. And when things are not going as well as you'd like them to as a parent or as a business owner, it's very frustrating. And there are times where you say to yourself, I just want it to be different. But, the reality of it is when the tide shifts and then all of a sudden they're sort of on top a little bit, it's very easy at that point to coast a little bit, to sort of take the foot off the gas pedal, to stop working so hard, to stop trying to continually improve your skills. And that's a really dangerous place to be, particularly in the business world, because a lot of times you won't even see the freight train coming down the track if that's the way that you are. If you're happy, if you're complacent, if you're comfortable, that's a really dangerous place to be, and you want to find ways to shake things up. Now, the examples that I gave in the very beginning are obviously silly. An office chair, some equipment, more space, another, video production room, whatever the case is, those are all silly examples because those are physical things. It doesn't have to be about that, but those were tangible examples that I could share with you to really make a point and make it really simple to understand exactly what I'm talking about. In your actual business itself, the sort of the equivalence there would be if you're very satisfied with your market position, if you're very satisfied with your customer relationships and your sales and all of these other things, there's a tendency for you and your staff, because they're going to take cues from you, to sort of take the foot off the gas and to lose that edge a little bit and to not fight quite as hard. And then you're susceptible to somebody coming in, another competitor coming in that is hungry, that is ambitious, that is motivated, that does have a chip on their shoulder, and go in and take your customers and, potentially cause you to lose business or struggle. And I can tell you this from personal experience, it's a lot more difficult to actually try to turn the gas back on once you've taken your foot off the pedal than it is just to stay motivated the whole time. When you feel like you're the underdog, when you feel like you've got something to prove, when you feel like you're going to show people, or you're going to do it, or you're going to beat that competitor, and you've got a purpose, you've got a motivating force like that, nothing can stop you. That's a really powerful place to be, even if the actual X's and O's of where your business is are not exactly what you want. It's always better to be growing. There's a funny quote from the movie Tommy Boy that I actually really love. And Brian Dennehy says, in auto parts, you're either growing or dying. There ain't no third direction. And really all business is exactly the same. Your business is either improving, it's evolving, it's growing, or essentially it's dying, because if you're standing still and you're thinking, okay, everything is good, remember that the only constant out there is change. There's going to be a competitor. There's going to be a shift in customer behavior. And the minute that you decide, I don't really need to take good care of my customers, I don't care that much about that stuff, everything's going fine, you will start to see over time things start to slip. Everything starts to slip, and then again, as I said, it's a lot harder to turn the gas back on. So finding something to be uncomfortable about in your business is a really important and valuable thing, despite the fact that it's, quite frankly, uncomfortable. It's a great thing because it's a motivating force. It's a constant reminder. It's that tap on your shoulder that says, keep your foot on the pedal, keep grinding, keep fighting. Don't lose what you've worked for. Continue to hustle. Continue to do the stuff that you've got to do. And when you do that, nothing can stop you. If you're constantly innovating, if you're constantly growing, you're constantly evolving your business, and you're constantly trying to do more and provide more value to your customers, you can build a business that is absolutely unstoppable. There's another great example that I read about years ago about a graphics company called Quad Graphics. And it was a really sort of revolutionary screen printing and graphic design company, because they would innovate and they would create all of these new standards in the industry for ways to do this printing. And you would think that what they would want to do is keep all that stuff proprietary, keep it all in-house, so they could beat the competition. They could produce stuff at a lower cost. They could crank things out faster. But you know what they actually did? They actually did the opposite. When they came up with a new innovation or a breakthrough, they turned right around and they licensed it and they sold it to their competitors. And on the surface, it sounds like, what? That's completely crazy. But if you really stop and think about it for a minute, it's brilliant. The reason that it's brilliant is because it forced the entire culture inside this firm to be a culture of innovation. There was no ability to take a breath and say, you know what, we don't need to do this anymore, we've arrived. Because the owner was smart enough to know that if they developed a competitive advantage that they thought was significant enough, human nature would kick in. It's not that the people that were working for them were bad or lazy or anything like that, but human nature would kick in and they would say, okay, you know what, we're good. We're smashing everybody. We can slow down a little bit. We don't need to grind quite as hard. The examples are everywhere in life. Professional sports. What's the old cliche that in a contract year, all of a sudden, this player that's been in a slump for a couple of years and not playing very well, all of a sudden puts up career numbers. They're crushing it out there. Why do you suppose that is? Because they're playing for a new contract. They know that if they don't produce, if they don't deliver, they're not going to get as much money anymore. But after they sign a 5-year deal and they've got $100 million coming in, whether they play well or not, what's really the incentive? Studies have been done on this time and time again, and money is a very shallow short-term motivator. A raise will only motivate your employees for about 14 days. After that 14 days and they've received a paycheck or two, they've already sort of now assimilated at that new level, and they've grown to that level of expectation. Their work and their expectation for how hard they need to work for that new income doesn't change. So now they just expect to get this much money for the same amount of work. It's human nature. Again, it doesn't make them bad people. It's how we all operate. And so it has to be other things that motivate you. And what Quad Graphics did was absolutely brilliant, because not only do they continue to make money by selling and licensing these innovations, but they forced their team to continue to innovate and to continue to push the envelope and find faster and better ways to continue to do the kind of work that they were doing. And so I challenge you to do exactly the same in your own business. If you're in a great spot, if you're wildly profitable, if everybody's happy, fantastic, congratulations. Pat yourself on the back. You should be super proud. And there are a lot of people that would kill to be in your position. At the same time, look over your shoulder and recognize that there's some young, hungry entrepreneur ready to eat your lunch for you if you slow down. So keep the foot on the gas. Find ways to continue to be intense, to continue to be motivated, have a sense of urgency, passion, and embrace all that stuff. Love it every day. Get in the trenches and do the work. I actually put on my daily calendar thing that I use, the software, I actually put a few words or a little phrase that I want to look at every single day to remind me to stay hungry, to remind me to stay motivated, have a sense of urgency, play with passion every single day, because that is what got you to where you are now, and that is what will take you wherever it is that you want to go. So, as always, if you have any questions or comments, share them with me at leverigeshow.com. And until next time, make it happen.